Hey, just so you guys know, we are going to be at Indie PopCon July 7th through 9th, and we will be having a panel on July 7th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the small podcasting room number 1.
Yeah.
Because apparently we're number 1, Tom. So I hope to see you guys there. Again, Indie PopCon, July 7th through 9th.
Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level.
What's up, Internet, and welcome to Level 2 Gamers. My name's Keegan. I'm one half of Level 2 Gamers, hanging out with Tom, the other half of Level 2 Gamers. And this is the first ever episode of TCSX, our PlayStation podcast. You excited, Tom?
I'm totally pumped. I've been waiting to dig into this one for a while. You know I'm a fanboy. Can't hide it. Try to hide it. Doesn't work.
I'm not.
But yeah,
Which
you're
is
not.
ironic considering I'm leading this.
Yeah, it's it's.
I love Sony, but I definitely don't have the fanboyism because I don't have the history with Sony. Like
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's going to be cool. I'm excited for it. We're obviously big with our PSVR stuff, so getting to go to the wider world of Sony should be nice and exciting.
Yes.
So let's get right in, man. What you got?
So first news is Sony is much easier to talk to and work with than Microsoft, says Indie Dev. This is according to PlayStationLifestyle.net. David Conderola, an indie studio for Brain and Brain.
Brain and Brain
is the name of the studio. And
like
he made
Pinky
Burly Men at Sea is the name of the game.
Okay.
Has this to say, I think Sony is still the biggest game in town. You want to be on a platform with most eyeballs. Our experience with Microsoft has sort of been the opposite of Sony and sort of what you're describing. They may be a little bit more out there, but for a developer like us, where our game is a bit too niche for them to take care of us and care about us behind the scenes, there wasn't much interest there.
Huh.
Thoughts? Because Microsoft's E3 presentation was indie.
Yeah,
and then a couple AAAs.
That's an interesting one because I mean, obviously, Microsoft was always like the bigger, more open platform. What's it like? ID at Microsoft?
ID at Xbox is their
ID at Xbox.
And then, well, it's funny because if you think about it, Microsoft's always been, in my opinion, the better for the indies because they had XBLA on. The
I think it was easier for the indies. I think like getting published was easier for a long time, but I think Sony recognized that. And when I think about Sony and Microsoft as two different separate entities, like just as like a raw thought on each one, I think of Microsoft, I think more business orientated, I think more bombastic, I think they want to go bigger, louder, more powerful. They're like a muscle car of consoles.
They're American.
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
That's what it is.
And Sony, being Japanese, maybe, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I always feel like they tend to be more stylistic, they tend to be more subtle, they tend to be like flashy, but not in a oh look at us way. So
they have a few of those, but
I mean,
like anybody else,
they're allowed a couple. You know,
yes.
They're a pretty big company, but I think that it's interesting that they're saying that that Sony are easier to work with, but I can also see Sony being better caretakers of their indie guys because the indie guys have basically kept them afloat for a really long time. They helped them through the PS3 era.
You weren't there during the interview at Indie PopCon last year when I interviewed Happy Badgers, and it might have actually been at Wizard World the year before. I can't remember if it was actually during the interview we did or if it was when I was talking to them. But I asked him why they chose Sony and not like because again he's like you want as many people to see your game. Doesn't matter what platform. Yeah. And I asked the Happy Badger people like why is it PC and PS4 only, and they go because Sony has been there for us. Microsoft hasn't, and I think Microsoft's going to be more and more because this generation they're behind. Same thing with Sony. I think Sony has always done it because last generation they were behind. And how do you get people excited about games is indies and new ideas and all this kind of stuff. Like you need the AAA games. Don't get me wrong.
You gotta nurture the talent, I think is the thing. So when you have a lot of guys that got their first shot with Sony off the bat and then Sony took them under their wing, you know?
Look at Limbo, look at Inside, like that. Those from Play Dead, like that is a story. Or Jonathan Blow. With Braid and then The Witness, I think was the one just did.
Yeah.
And that's a dude. I mean, I'm sure he has people working with him, but that's a dude working on a game.
Crazy dude, too. If you ever met him, he's weird as fuck.
And then, like, Axiom Verge. Like, these people don't have the resources that EA, that Bethesda, that Ubisoft has, and they need help getting stuff done. And they may also not know the ins and outs of the industry.
Right.
So, good on Sony for doing it.
Yeah.
I don't think Microsoft's doing a...
I don't want to say I don't want to say this is indicative of everyone's experience.
This could be a one thing.
I don't want to say it's indicative of everyone's experience, but it's interesting that they're mentioning that, and it's interesting that, like you said, with Happy Badger, that they said similar things. But I do think that I don't want to say Xbox has not supported indies because I truly think they have.
I'm sure they're supporting Player Unknown Battlegrounds because the ones that make a splash they support really well. They don't do really well on the like
more
you said, the
niche-y,
super
quirky
niche
things.
ones. Like
Yeah.
Burly Men at Sea, I've never heard of. I don't know what it is. It sounds like a weird game.
I would totally play the shit out of that game.
It sounds like a Chad game. But
Yeah.
I don't know. This kind of, when I saw this headline, I was like, wait a second. It made me stop and actually, I was like, I need to read this article.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. It doesn't surprise me, but it does at the same. You would think they'd be somewhat level, but Sony, the way they've been with indies recently, which is interesting because E3 they didn't talk about very many. They didn't talk about indies. I don't think.
Well, I mean, they had enough on their plate at E3. I think they had to try and keep the VR fans afloat and everything. So I think it's interesting. I think it's a good comment. I think it's good for Sony to get that kind of press. I think it's obvious that Sony are supporting the smaller titles like that. That's not to say that Microsoft aren't, but I think maybe there's just something in. I mean, it's got to be some kind of backdoor support that they're getting that we don't know about because we don't make video games. But there must be some kind of extra additional hands-on for the Sony team.
There's got to be something.
Yeah.
So, next piece of news is Sony president and CEO says PS4 Pro only titles will never happen, according to VGA.com, VGA247.com.
Yeah.
In an interview with German site golem.de Denmark, by the way, this is Google Translate, so I don't know if the quote is going to be word for word.
.de is for Germany. It's
Dutch.
Deutschland.
Deutschland. Sony president and CEO Sean Layden was asked whether we would see any PS4 Pro only titles, and he said that will never happen, with an empathetic response. The Pro is really only to offer advantages such as 4K resolutions, HMD for players who can and want to use that. Add this to more stable image rates and larger disk space, but PS4 owners have no real disadvantages. Each of our games will continue to run on the classic PS4 and possibly slightly better on the Pro. That's exactly how they marketed it.
Yeah. They're sticking to their word. That's great.
It's weird because like you're stuck in that limbo of like, do people care about it? But he's like, I don't care if they care about it because that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to this argument, isn't there? There's the people that have a Pro and maybe feel like the older version of the PS4 is potentially holding it back. Yeah, but then at the same time, they never marketed it like that. They never said this is the PS5. They never said you're only going to get these experiences on the Pro. They said if you have a love of PS4 games, this is going to be the better way to play those games. If you have all the other stuff.
Best on an Xbox One X.
Yeah, and I'm not even getting all of that stuff. I don't have a 4K TV, but I will notice certain things like VR.
VR makes a difference.
Yeah, as a huge VR guy, like
especially Resident Evil, that was a night and day difference.
Yeah, there's certain titles that you can throw on there, and actually, this has been a comment of discussion in the PSVR forums for Reddit, and they've been saying there's been a lot of people that have actually finally upgraded and got a Pro, and they're turning around and going, actually, I did not think it was going to be this impressive, and they were like really, really staggered by it. So I think it's great. I think that they're standing behind their word there, and I think that's exactly what we want a company to do, especially if you're making a podcast about them. So,
stick to your
I'm
guns.
happy about that. Good job.
Same interview, Sony says it'll probably be some time before we see the PS5. So my prediction of 2019 might be in jeopardy here.
There you go.
Layden said it would probably be some time before the reveal of PS5, but there's a Macquarie Capital Securities analyst, Damien Thong, who has a good track record of being on the nose with predictions, thinks the PS5...
His name is Damien Thong?
Yes.
Like thong to thong,
yes,
thong,
like thong to thong, thong, thong.
Fair enough.
Thinks the PS5 will be released before the end of 2018. I don't believe that. I think 2019 will be announced 2018, released 2019. Thoughts on this? You've always been like, I don't care. So I'm in the boat, like we talking about the Pro versus non-Pro. I'm in the non-Pro boat, so I don't care if they released one then, I'm all for it. If they don't, as long as the games stay as good as they are, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing will be what happens with Xbox One X. If the Xbox One X games are that much better, I think it'll push Sony to move it quicker.
I don't think they will be, honestly. Everything I've seen so far has been like a little underwhelming. It basically, like, I know it's the most powerful machine, yada yada, but they made the same promise that Sony did, that it has to work on the original, which means that then they are now held back by the fact that it has to work on the original. So you're only going to get like superior 4K, HDR, things like that. And that's
if the developers support it. Like, and that's Destiny's not supporting it.
Destiny's just been like, fuck you guys, we're doing what we want anyway. They said
they can't.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure they could on Xbox. On Xbox One X, just because the power's there, but I think it's also splitting the base.
I will say this. I don't like the iterative console thing. I really don't. I don't want consoles to go the way of, smartphones and things like that. So I'm not super pumped about the idea that we're going to start having like the PlayStation 4S or whatever it might be. But at the same time, it's nice that they are being able to keep up with the way that the developers are now pushing this industry. I mean, every console that gets released has a certain lifespan, and throughout the lifespan, you can see the developers getting a hold of the hardware. So if you look at a launch game for PS3, and then you look at the last week's worth of releases for PS3, there's such a massive difference. And I think that people are still trying to get to grips with things like the Pro and the Xbox One X. So for them to go ahead and release a PS5 now, to me, would be pointless. I think there hasn't been enough industrial change in the hardware in the industry for them to really make anything worth buying.
I think one of the things that would push it is VR. Like, if you could have a VR that does not have an external breakout box, I think would do it. But I personally think VR
even that though
is years away. Yeah, because it'd be dumb not to.
VR is such a touchy thing though, because you remember
controllers.
Despite the they definitely need to move to 2.0.
That's all they need.
But despite the fact that VR has been taken up really, really well with Sony, and obviously we're gigantic fans of it. You can tune in tomorrow for Codename Morpheus. But despite the fact that we have this kind of big backing behind VR, that is not enough for everyone else. It has to be mind-blowingly like super high-end PC. This thing will last for like longer than 7 years without breaking a sweat type deal. And they're not there yet. And there's no way they can be there yet because they just finished the Pro. So clearly they weren't working on the PS5 at the time, or if they were, then it was in the sort of primordial stages. So I would like them to take longer. I want them to be ready, and when they release it, I want it to be for a mind-blowing reason and not just because they can.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm sorry that your prediction might be wrong, though.
I mean, we'll see. That guy's got a track. Good old Thong's got a track record.
Thong.
Something new now. We're going to hop into the new releases where we go in and you find the latest releases for the week of 6/27/17. That is June 27, 2017. We're going to read the drop. What comes out this week, Tom? Do you know?
It's Crash this week.
It is. That is one of the things we're going to talk about.
Awesome.
But let's go alphabetical order because that's how the drop does it.
Sure. What you got?
Area Deluxe Edition. I assume that's how you say it. Is out digitally.
Area? I would say Area.
Area. AEREA. Deluxe Edition out digitally.
It's, what do you call those when they read the same forward and backwards? Palindrome?
Yes.
There you go. Look at me.
Area A is a action RPG in which music is both your best friend and your worst enemy. As a disciple of the great Maestro Guido, you have unraveled mysteries of Azir. Find what happened in the world and return to the 9 primordial instruments to restore balance and bring peace to the world.
I guess the Guido thing is cracking me up. I'm imagining this guy like... That's a Jersey Shore joke.
Yeah.
Because Guidos.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to live out there. I know all about them. I didn't live in Jersey Shore, but I lived in New York. Jersey is the armpit of New York, Tom.
Okay.
Just so you know. Next one, we've got America's Army, Proving Grounds, PS4 Digital. This free military game focuses on small tactical unit maneuvers and puts you in a test and wide array of new and classic Army maps.
Free, huh?
Free. Yeah. America's Army.
It's another fucking propaganda video game. I hate this shit.
I think I'm going to steal one from you.
I'm starting to get mad at
Good old Ancient Emulator. I'm not going to go into it because we're going to go into it more depth. I have a feeling on
That's fine. Yeah,
PSVR. But Ancient Emulator VR comes out digitally this. Ancient Emulator is an action tower defense game that allows you throws you into an ancient world to battle magical creatures, monsters, and other legendary foes.
Exciting. Tune in tomorrow for more on that. And
this one as well. Arizona Sunshine, PSVR, comes out digitally. Arizona Sunshine puts you in the midst of zombie apocalypse exclusively in VR. Handle weapons with real-life movements. Freely explore a post-apocalyptic, that's hard for me to say, world. And put your survival skills to the test with PSVR.
I'm a little sad about this. We'll get into it tomorrow.
Yes.
But, it's not been going
Brawlhalla
well.
apparently got canceled because it's crossed off the list.
Oh.
So that's a thing. Here's another one, another VR game. Cavernous Wastes, PS4, PSVR.
This is both,
release.
though. Yeah, this is both. This is not just pure VR.
With no memory of where you are and no idea of how you got there, you do know one thing. You have to escape. Fly through the maze-like caverns and fight through the automated defense systems while you search for your way out.
That one looks semi-interesting. It looks like it could be...
It's sketchy.
Yeah, the trailer is sketchy, too. It's bland. That's the only thing I'll say about it. It's bland looking. No. I'm not hating on it. I'm sure I'll play it at some point, but you're basically just going through tunnels and shooting the occasional thing. So not top of my list this week.
Next, we're going to stop and actually talk about this one because I think this is one of the big ones this week.
Yeah, this has been
Crash Bandicoot
a good welcome.
Sane Trilogy, PS4 digital out 6/30, so it comes out, is that Friday? Friday, I believe.
I had a question about this.
Give me a second. Let me finish my blurb.
Sure.
I'm on a roll, Tom. Your favorite marsupial, Crash Bandicoot, is back. He's enhanced, entranced, and ready to dance with the Insane Trilogy game collection. Spin, jump, wump, and repeat as you take on the epic challenges adventures through the 3 games that started it all. What's your question?
Why is it Sane?
Because the dude, I can't remember what his name is.
Oh, is that his
I can't remember his name right now.
I haven't played it since the original, so I have no fucking idea.
I've never owned a Crash game, but I know the N is on his head, so I'm assuming it has to
that makes sense. I just thought they were being weird, and I was like, why Sane? I was like, Guns N' Roses?
So,
like, I don't get it. You know.
Are you going to pick this up?
No.
Are you a Crash fan? I'm excited. I debated on pre-ordering this. I'm holding off. I am going to pick it up at some point.
I'll pick it up on sale.
I might wait for a sale, just because there's a lot of other things going on right now.
I know this is a Sony podcast, and like I said, I was a fanboy, and obviously I did play Crash. I liked Crash, but
Crash commercials back in the day were one of my favorites.
Yeah, they were
the
funny.
Dude yelling at Nintendo.
But I just never was like super obsessed in it. I'm happy they're doing it. I'm happy that those fans get that treatment and it's built from the ground up. Apparently, it's not
so what they did is they used the math from the original game and upscaled it to 16:9.
Yeah.
So they didn't just up-res; they built it.
They built it,
which is cool.
It's that's awesome. And I know there's going to be a million Sony fans out there that are going to be totally stoked about this. And I'm stoked for you.
The hype train on YouTube right now of leading up to it, of people like I have a bunch of friends that are streaming the old Crash games, and they went from getting like 10 people in their chat to somebody the other day had over 100 because of Crash.
Wow.
And like Crash is back, and people love Crash, and it's funny because like if you're a Sony person, Crash is one of the first things you remember because he was the face of
kind of the original mascot.
Like when it came to competing with Mario, he was him, Mario, and Sonic.
Yeah,
that's what it was, and
I never saw Crash on the same echelon as Mario and Sonic.
I don't think the games were as good, but I think Sony tried to make that happen, and I think the games were good.
Yeah, they were good. They were solid games.
The only problem I had was when you had the levels where you run towards the screen.
Oh yeah, they were the
worst. Hated those.
They still do that shit.
Oh yeah,
to this day.
Oh yeah,
there's still games that do that. Don't ever do that.
And Crash being in Uncharted was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was a nice nod because Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog did it.
That's I guess that's how they got their start. But it's
Crash.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited that it's a thing and they're doing it well and they're doing it right. Like I liked a lot of the God of War remasters, and here's the thing. Sony loves a good remaster, let's be honest. I mean, they fucking love them. There's so many that have come out recently. I get a lot more excited about the remasters of things like...
I like the remasters that actually come out on, like,
Quantum
I don't know,
Dream
Final
stuff.
Fantasy VII, that's probably not going to come out for another... It'll come out on PS5, don't worry.
No, it'll be here sooner than that.
No, it's coming out 2019 with the PS5
You think so?
It's going to be a
launch title?
Launch title on PS5. Nah, that's
another
not a real
prediction.
That's not a real prediction.
Add it to your calendar. So, but no,
you know what would be funny if somebody actually is adding this, and at some point, if I get them right, I'll be like, fuck you, Tom, I know what I'm talking about.
Please prove him wrong. But no, it's exciting. I will not... How much is it?
30.
$30?
Or 40, sorry, $39.99. $40.
Yeah, for $40 I'm not doing it. I mean, I just don't love it that much.
So to me, this reminds me of Ratchet and Clank, which was 40. I think it's appropriately priced. If it's
Ratchet is probably a better game.
If it's a $60, yeah, but you don't have the nostalgia. Well, you kind of do. But this to me is a perfect price for this game. Like I said, I'm not going to pick it up just because I have other things going on, but I'm going to pick it up at some point.
Yeah.
Whether it's on sale or full price, we'll see. It will depends on how.
I'll wait for a sale. But
I love Crash. I love my 3D platformers, all that kind of stuff. And let's be honest, I showed you. Actually, I think I showed your wife the video before of Tim Geddes from Kind of Funny reacting to Crash last year, and it was the greatest thing in the world. I don't get that excited about it because I'm not a Sony person growing up, but I know who Crash is, and Crash story. Never owned a PlayStation except for when we bought our minivan in, God, who knows, like 2000 something, maybe 90s, maybe late 90s, and it came with a PlayStation.
You were alive in the 90s?
Yeah, I was born in 91. Came with a PS1 because it was one that had a DVD player, or actually it had a VCR inside of it. Because DVDs weren't a thing yet, but it came with a PS1, and the PS2 had already been out for a little while. I think they were just trying to get rid of them. And Crash was one of the games I got on there. And then the other time I played Crash was we used to go to a Sheraton Hotel in Fredericton, New Brunswick, which is in Canada, those of you who don't know. And they had one of those... Have you ever seen, like, the hotels where they don't really have, like, a game system? It's just a controller that emulates games?
Yeah.
Crash was the game. We paid, God, that'd be like $8 for, like, 2 hours or something to play Crash. And I loved it. My parents, I'd bug them every time we went to that hotel. I would, like, can I play Crash? and that was the only time I ever played Crash. So this to me would be like actually playing it.
Well, this is a different version of nostalgia for you because you have good correlations of that with a fun time you were having with your family.
I don't know if the games are any good. I mean, from what I played, they were fun, but also they were really difficult because when those games came out, I was like 6 or 7.
Right.
So I was more into Mario at that point. Back to the drop. Cryptarch, PS4 digital. Cryptarch is a 2D sci-fi shooter where you take on the role of heavily armed privateer. I was gonna say pirate. I thought it was a pirate. Seeking to earn the government contracts by boarding deadly alien space hulks. It's up to you to strategize a plan of attack, pick an equipment loadout, and destroy the central core to be victorious.
What exactly is a space Hulk when it's at home?
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a Bruce Banner.
Just like I'm imagining the Incredible Hulk in an astronaut suit. This I'm excited about, baby. This is on my list. This is what I'm going to buy instead of Arizona Sunshine.
Another episode, Ultra Despair Girls, PS4 digital and retail release.
Danganronpa.
Beyond Hope lies absolute despair. I'm going to have you say those names. Kamaru Nagaya and Toko Fukama.
Kamaru Nagi and Toko Fukawa.
There we go. Make for an unlikely heroes as they try to escape Towa City, a town caught in a war between adults and children. So I know some people that are big into this game.
Yeah, I'm one of them. Not that particular game, but yeah, Danganronpa.
Like I know this is a big franchise. I know nothing about it.
It's so fun though.
But
so can I go off on one for a second? Okay. So Danganronpa is basically, and I'll start with the remasters because I'm not going to go through like the history of Danganronpa. No, but they recently released the first and second.
They also have a VR one that I played. That's all I know about
the VR one is weird as shit. But yeah, but they released 1 and 2 remastered for PS4 recently, and this is 3 basically, Ultra Despair Girls. But essentially, they are a story of a group of high school students that they're supposed to all be the best at something. So you have like, this guy is the best baseball player in Japan, and this guy is the best artist in Japan, and this girl is the best gymnast in Japan, and they all get invited to this school, and it's supposed to be this school for like, you know, super fucking prodigy children. And when they get there,
so it's like the pigeon game we played.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit like the pigeon dating sim, but cross that with the Hunger Games.
Yes.
And or Battle Royale, more appropriately. So if they get to this place and they discover that there is a little evil teddy bear, and
he's half evil. I've seen him.
He's pretty fucking evil. He's pretty fucking evil. And basically he wants to play and they call it the killing game, where essentially someone gets murdered and everyone else has to try and figure out who done it. Yeah. So you're like gathering clues, talking to people, surveying the area. So
that makes sense why the VR game is what it is.
Right.
Okay. So because the VR game you got to figure out.
Well, a lot of it is like RPG based until you get to what you saw in VR, which is basically a trial. Yeah. So when you're at the trial, you have to have enough evidence to counter all of the arguments that other kids are making. So
this is a John Grisham novel in Japanese form.
Essentially, yeah. So if someone guy's going, I couldn't have done that because I was blah blah blah, then you like shoot that shit down with your word bullets.
Like, no, I saw you. I saw you with Susie on the 13th of July.
Exactly. So, and then of course, you know, someone dies. So it's as evil teddy bears are wont to do. But yeah, they're so fun. Like honestly, it's one of those Japanese games where yeah, it's weird, yeah, it's Japanese, but at the same time, it's so fucking good. It's like Persona. It's like those guys that you just have to give a shot. So I loved the remasters. I'm still playing them actually. I'm gonna go right into them after I finish Persona 5. But Ultra Despair Girls, I am picking up today in placement of Arizona Sunshine, which I was going to buy. Get it.
On the next one, Dark Arcana, The Carnival, PS4 digital. Find the missing woman lost in mysterious carnival of horror. That's a lot of M's in there.
Words.
Carnivals of Horrors. Investigate 2 worlds, the one you know, and an alternate plane existing beyond the Hall of Mirrors. Discover the secret of an ancient being known as the Evil One.
That's not generic.
We're good there. Reveal the story of a star-crossed lovers and stop the Evil One from invading our world.
That looks like one of them tabletop games, doesn't it? Looks like Vampire the Masquerade or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diablo 3 Eternal Collection, PS4 digital.
How many times are they going to release Diablo?
As many as people buy it.
Jesus Christ.
Rise is one of humanity's last defenders, Crusader Barbarian, Witch Doctor, Demon Hunter, Monk,
Did you say
or
Dr.
Wizard.
Demon?
No, Witch Hunter, Demon Hunter.
Oh, I see. Witch Doctor, Demon. I thought you said Dr. Demon. I was like, Dr. Demon, Doctor.
Collect legendary loot while mastering and devastating new powers and abilities. Elite Dangerous PS4 coming out digital and retail. Elite Dangerous is the defensive, massively multiplayer space epic, bringing gaming's original open world adventure to the modern generation with a connected galaxy, evolving narrative, and the entirety of the Milky Way recreated as its full galactic proportions.
So, big game. The only sucky thing about that is that it was supposed to have PSVR at launch, and it doesn't. So, we're waiting for the PSVR add-on.
You can buy it, and I'm sure it'll be a free update when it happens.
I don't know if it'll be free.
Well,
honestly, I think they'll probably do it like dirt, but I don't know.
$12.
Like $10 or something to add it. But I'll pick it up when it has PSVR.
The big game, the one you're waiting for. The Golf Club 2 comes to PS4 digital and retail. Rise to fame and fortune in the largest, most dynamic golf game ever created. Assemble and join online societies with friends, compete in tournaments, and earn money to climb the ranks in golf's largest gaming community.
Some gangster
which is interesting because EA has not made a golf game in 3 years, so this could potentially take over.
I like how they're treating it the same as Need for Speed. It's like rise through the ranks, kill your enemies.
This was almost one I spotlighted, then I looked it up and I was like, Jump Jet Rex, PS4 digital out on the 28th, so that is the day this goes live, so tomorrow.
Ooh,
as of recording. Yeah, today, as you're listening. Simply put, you're a T-Rex with rocket boots trying to save the Earth from an incoming asteroid. Do you have what it takes to stop it? That's what their description they sent to him.
Yeah, that looks like one of them little niche games they were talking about.
I looked it up on PlayStation. It was, I think, or not PlayStation, on, because some of these aren't up yet, on Steam, and I think it was like $3 or $4. So... Medieval Defenders PS4 digital. Defend your ancestral castle. Show the invader who the master is. Build towers, save money, train your spells, and your enemy will be vanquished. There's so much shit on this. I've come to learn. It does.
Like, I mean, okay, if you're gonna fucking do it, make your game stand out.
Yes.
I didn't know this was out.
Micro Machine World Series digital and retail out on the 30th, so that comes out Friday. The legend is back. Micro Machines World Series combines the thrilling madness of racing micro machines with an epic team battle strategies set against the extraordinary interactive backdrops of everyday home.
Dude.
Do you remember Micro Machines?
I fucking do. That's why my mouth dropped when I saw this title.
One?
I don't remember
the real fast talker for the commercials.
No, actually, but
show you those commercials.
I loved Micro Machines. Like that was my jam. There's not many better multiplayer games from back in the day than Micro Machines.
Micro Machines is a car series, right?
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
Yeah, but like as far as like couch co-op, perfect game for couch co-op. It was great. So yeah, I'm
glad we're reading the drop here.
Totally pumped. Yeah, I didn't know that was coming out.
Plague Road, PS4 digital. Set around a city being consumed from within by a disease, Plague Road tells a story of a lone doctor who once left home and now returns in search of those who have survived. That's a cool looking person. That's a cool image. I don't know what the game is.
If you're going to have a random ass game that you don't really explain very well, then that's about as good as a setup as you can have for it.
This one I'm going to talk about because I actually streamed this back in the day. Poi, PS4 digital. Poi is a 3D platformer featuring two kids on a grand adventure to unravel the mystery of the Milky Way globe. Explore uncharted lands, complete challenges, meet quirky characters, defeat comical creatures on your journey to become the master explorer. This reminds me of Mario Sunshine, a real cheap Mario Sunshine. It is $15, at least it was on Steam. I'm assuming it's going to be the same price on PS4. I enjoyed this game. I had a lot of fun. When I played it, there's only 3 levels. They've since, because there's early access, they've since added more. I didn't finish it because I don't play too many PC games anymore, so I might buy this on here just to finish it.
Did you have fun when you played it?
I did. That was actually, I think that was one of the first streams I met Tagato on. So I had a lot of fun with it. A lot of people were interested. The art style is really cool looking. I don't want to get people too excited because it is a very basic game, but the gameplay reminded me a lot of Ukulele and all that kind of stuff. But
there was like a classic Rare style.
Yeah, there was a feeling to it, and this is before Ukulele, so who knows? I could go back to it and be like, this is garbage now. But when I played it, I enjoyed it. I
can only imagine it would have gotten better. I mean, you played the early alpha, so it must be more interesting at this point.
The 10th Line, PS4 digital. The 10th Line is a console-style RPG featuring a colorful cast of characters, unique battle and level-up systems, quick 2D platforming action, and an original fantastical story about friendship, faith, and finding your place in the world. That's a cool image. That's an RPG image.
Looks like a Studio
I'm going to try and put these behind us, by the way. I can't promise.
Yeah.
Tokyo Xanadu, PS Vita, digital and retail out on the 30th.
This guy has a glowing blue phone.
He does. Tokyo Xanadu, a massive action RPG. When high school student Koyu I can't do Japanese names.
Koyu Takisaka
encounters a nightmare realm known as the Eclipse, his world is forever changed. Reality distorts as monsters threaten the safety of Morayamai City. Koyu must transform his soul into a powerful weapon to defeat the vile eclipse once and for all.
Sounds great. I would watch the shit out of an anime that had that storyline. Yeah, it's weird how many high school kids are in animes. You notice that?
Yeah.
It's like every fucking one is high school.
Japan.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have like an adult one.
Valkyria
though.
Revolution, PS4 and PS Vita, digital and PS4 at retail. Band together to defeat the evil empire and death itself. The Valkyria, as Vanguard's commander, take control of the elite squad to unleash powerful Ragnite spells and utilize mana weaponry on the front lines.
Valkyria is a pretty popular.
Yeah, I've seen people talk about the World of Nebula, PS4 digital.
That's Nubla.
Nubla? Oh yeah, Nubla.
Yeah.
It's an elephant.
Wait, wasn't there another game? No, there was a Nubla game before. There's a fucking elephant on it. I remember it. There was another one.
Nebula is an adventure that begins in the halls of the Thesan Museum, where you find a character that exists inside pictures. Follow him. We begin a journey that will take us to discover a wonderful world of Nebula.
I believe
full
it
of
was,
puzzles and forgotten places. That actually sounds like a key.
I think it was like NERO or something, and it was, but the N stood for Nubla.
Oh.
But it was like N dot. E.R.O. But yeah, I think this is a sequel actually. I'm not positive on that, don't quote me, but I've seen that elephant and that wording before, so but yeah, I mean that's a big week. It's quite a lot.
Yeah,
quite
I'm
a lot.
excited.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
I mean, Crash Bandicoot is going to be the #1.
That's yours?
I mean, Poi and Crash are the two I highlighted because I like them, but I think Crash Bandicoot is definitely #1 by far. This World of Nebula sounds interesting.
Probably cheap too.
I want to see the trailer, not just the image, to see if I want it.
Yeah, I really am excited for Ultra Despair Girls, just because, yeah, I so enjoyed the other games, and they were the games that I started playing before they had a windfall of a million great games that happened. You know, we had this kind of like Horizon, Mass Effect, Persona, and Danganronpa was what I was playing right before they all came out. So I've got to finish those up so I can get into Ultra Despair Girls. But I'm definitely picking that up.
Cool. So on to the spotlights that we're going to showcase here. That was your drop for the week of June 27th, 2017.
Glad you remembered.
I was like, I saw it in my head, the 6/27. I was like, fuck, what week is that? Because it says at the top.
For the week of, hang on while we're being professional.
Hang up while I refresh the page
27.
27/17. Now head on to the spotlights.
Go for it. What you got?
My spotlight is actually a game that's come out a while ago, and I'm still enjoying it, and I think it deserves the spotlight even more, is Rocket League.
All right.
They've expanded on it. They've added to it. I have, God knows how many hours into this game at this point. We bought it. I mean, you weren't here when it came out, but me and Jordan did a playthrough of it. It's really cringy looking back at that and seeing how bad I am at it compared. I'm still not good, but seeing how much I didn't know versus what I know now. And the big thing for it that I want to spotlight is all the maps are free. Period.
Yeah.
Free maps. The only thing you pay for DLC-wise is cars. And the cars don't have any competitive advantage. It's just skins.
Just skins.
So when
That's how you do it, though, isn't it? I mean, they really,
And they give it away for free on PSN when it first launched. But I have since gone and bought the Ultimate Edition on their Level 2 account.
Yeah.
Because two reasons. One, I very rarely play PSN on my other account, so I actually ran into the issue where it's like, you're locked out. It's like, fuck. So I just bought it. It was on sale last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, and I bought it. And partially for two reasons. One, I wanted the game, and two, support the developers.
I feel like we gave away a copy.
We did. We gave away a key. So the big things on this is there are duels. There's 3-on-3, 4v4, social, competitive play. They have since added what's called Rocket Labs, which is kind of where they test new arenas, new things, and then they add them to skin. Like, it's no skins. It's just kind of like picture like Tron see-through stuff.
Gotcha.
And then eventually they'll get skins if people like
virtual
them or not
arenas.
Yeah. Snow Day, which was hockey. You can play hockey puck.
With the puck,
hit the ground. That is kind of
basketball.
Fun. Yeah, they got hoops, which is basketball. They've got Rumble, which is it's funny because when me and Jordan first played, we're like, one thing missing is like Mario Kart power-ups. And guess what? We got Mario Kart power-ups in it. And it made it so the game was interesting, but it didn't make the game super unbalanced. Yeah, it didn't make it so we're like, what?
It just turned into a crazy shit fest, but
Which
at the
is what
same
it already
time,
was.
that's really fun. So,
and then the last one, the new mode, which I particularly don't like, is called Drop Shot. And this is where you have to, it's like volleyball, and I'm not good at flying with the car, so that's why I don't like it. I prefer soccer. I prefer soccer and hockey versus basketball's all right, but soccer and hockey.
Basketball's really hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then drop shot's really hard. But I
like that they're doing that though.
Yes.
Even if it's hard,
they did basketball was supposed to come out, I think with the NCAA tournament, they got delayed a few months. And makes me real sad.
So what do they miss at golf? Golf be good.
I don't think you could golf though.
Like mini golf?
I don't know how you do that in arena because it's an arena style.
You have to try and sink it in a hole. You just you make like a giant mini golf course.
But how big would the hole have to be? Because the ball is,
I mean, big enough for the ball to go in, but that's about it.
But you have to. The problem with that, you have to slow down before you get there, so people would come in and just blow you up from a competitive standpoint. unless you're just doing one at a time. But yeah, Rocket League has been a game I've been playing on and off since launch. I actually used to be part of a stream every Saturday night. We would start about 9:30, 10 o'clock my time, go to about 3 or 4 a.m., which was horrible for my sleep.
It's a super addictive
But
game.
fun.
Like, it really is. Like, I was super skeptical about it. You kept telling me, you like football, you'll like this. And I was like, but it's
soccer
cars, and I don't really know how I feel about that. But after playing it for a little bit, I could totally see the enjoyment. It's got a very addictive nature to it. And more importantly, the developers have been superb. They've been supporting it since day one. And now it's actually a really big esports title as well. Like, it's something that's
coming to Switch as well,
yeah,
which is exciting.
coming to Switch with
I think it's on every platform.
The Mario hats and everything.
Yeah, so big shout out to Rocket League, to Psyonix Studios. I think they kind of exploded way quicker, or way more than
They weren't
thought.
prepared.
The other thing, though,
but they handled it well.
They're very similar right now to, I think, Friday the 13th is handling. They have a good game, but their servers had just fallen apart because they didn't expect the demand it did. But to Psyonix credit, and those of you who follow them at all, Jeremy Dunham, who used to work at IGN, is one of the leads there, was very transparent with, like, we know this is broken. We are aware. We're doing our best. But to give you an idea of what we need to do, we can't just... They couldn't just fix what they had. They had to add to it.
Yeah.
Like, we have too many people playing on too few servers because we didn't anticipate this. And I feel like if you give away your game as PSN, it's always tricky because you're like, it could be a Rocket League.
I mean, literally, you have an audience of, millions of people that are going to get it just because.
It could be Rocket League, or it could be one of those games I download and never play.
Yeah.
Like, you never know. But what's really cool, and one of the things, like you said before, is they did DLC right. I've paid more money to this game in DLC than probably what the game is worth for the $20 that full price for it. The Game of the Year edition is $25, I believe, full price.
Yeah, even at full price,
like,
it was cheap.
They have Hot Wheels. They did Back to the Future.
Batman
versus Superman versus Batman. Batman versus Superman. Which way's it go? One of those ways.
I don't know.
One of those two. But the Hot Wheels one's
Hot
Wheels one is my favorite. So they've been doing this right. I'm a big fan of it. I love Rocket League, and
we still play it. Who's that one guy that always kicks our ass? Shiv.
Good old Shiv.
Dude.
He keeps asking us when we're going to play again. I was like, sometime soon.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th came out, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the game way too much.
Yeah, told you.
Yeah. I tried to get, so Greg from Kind of Funny was playing the other night, and I was like, hey, you should get on our stream. It didn't work.
Yeah,
I
worth a
chatted
shot.
on Twitter. What have you got going on?
So I decided to go for the niche indie this week. Not quite as popular as Rocket League. And this is a game that has... It caught my attention because of the box art. And the box art for this game is kind of unique. It doesn't really explain anything, which I enjoy, usually. And then I read the back of the box, and I was like, well, this is a physical release, which is rare, right? For a physical release of, like, an indie game. Most of them just stick to the digital downloads. But it had both. And so I dug into it a little bit more. I ended up watching a trailer or two, and I was like, you know what? That's going on the wish list. And I waited and waited and waited for it to go on sale, and when it went on sale, I picked it up. And that game is called This Is the Police.
I've heard about this game, and I heard it's gotten pretty good reception from what I've heard.
It's an interesting title. There's really not much else out there that I can say looks or feels like this game does, the way that it manages.
Similar to Virginia, right?
Stylistically,
that's what I'm thinking of.
Stylistically,
right?
it is very similar to Virginia.
Because the box art is the cop's head, right? Okay, I'll make sure I was thinking of the right game.
Yeah. Stylistically, it is very similar to Virginia, but as far as the gameplay, completely different. So this game is from, and I want to get this, I think it's Weepy Studio. I might be wrong. It might be Weppy or something.
They're actually English. It's Weappy.
Weappy
Studio.
Weappy Studio. And Nordic Games are the publishers. And see, you said English, and then my accent suddenly fired up there. It came out on March 22nd.
Yesterday was Harry Potter Day, by the way.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Congratulations to...
20 years. It turned 20 years
Harry
old.
Potter fan.
That's crazy.
It came out on March 22nd, 2017, so it's only been out for a little while. So you could easily have overlooked it. It was one of those things that came out, and if you weren't paying attention, you would easily miss it. And it's essentially, it's a combination of like a narrative-driven story game, much similar, actually, to like those Japanese type games like Persona, where you have to actually make decisions on the fly, and it kind of just is showing you story. But then
is it like Until Dawn /
not really,
like, what's it, the Quantic style, or
no. You don't get anywhere near as much control. It's mostly you're watching like videos basically, and occasionally. So for example, at the very beginning of the game,
it's not that dialogue box of like you have 4 options, choose which one.
Sometimes.
Okay.
So a lot of it is you're just watching, and it's almost spread out in like a comic book style. So you'll have like a panel, and then then they have this really great voiceover, which is it reads like a comic book. It reads almost like an old Max Payne game or something. This cop he's like a disgruntled, like 180 days to retirement cop. His name is Jack Boyd, which is a pretty good cop name if you ask me.
Jack
and
Boyd.
he's on the force for the city of Freiburg, which is a fictional city, and basically
Dinkelberg.
he's got 180 days left on the force, and you have to control him for his last 180 days. So he's being let's say, sort of forced into retirement, so he's not super pumped about it, but at the same time he also kind of doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
But you start off the game and you're doing lots of watching. Like the intro scene is almost like something from Goodfellas. It's really, really interesting. And then you are put in front of a press conference and they ask you a question. You get to select from a group of 4 answers which one you want. And a lot of it is like, you could really go like, bullshit, like just like scream at people, or you could give the diplomatic answers.
That's no fun.
So
though.
yeah, I mean it is either or. I gave mostly diplomatic answers on my first playthrough.
Well,
I wasn't sure.
I feel like when you play the game the first time, you play it probably closest to how you would be in real life.
Yeah.
And you kind of become the dick later on.
Yeah, that's kind of what
Or if people get you angry like Until Dawn,
I don't know anyone well enough yet to be mad about anything. So, like, at the beginning of the game to ask me all those questions, and I didn't really know the backstory to anything, I was just kind of like, okay,
Did they ask you who you wanted to marry, who you wanted to fuck, and who you wanted to kill?
They did not, no.
Okay. That comes later.
That comes later.
Not really. That's a joke,
but yeah, so then after a little bit of this kind of story mode, you break out into essentially an RTS game, a strategy game. So you get an overview, like a model map of the city. Your cops come in for the day, and there's 2 shifts, Shift A and Shift B. You have your cops. It's almost like there's like the parts of Assassin's Creed where you have to send a couple of your creed out to do stuff and they come back.
No, because it's been a while since I played it in
Right, so this is like a mode of Assassin's Creed, basically, where you have your creed, or let's say you have 10 people that you picked up,
dudes.
and you get a mission. It's like, oh, you want to send 2 people out to do this, and here's your success rate and all this kind of shit. So you send them out, but then you can't use them for like a day or whatever, and then like you're kind of doing that. So it's a similar principle to that. So you have your roster of cops, and they're a mixture of detectives and on-beat cops, and so you'll sit there and you'll get a call come in, and the call is like, hey, there's an armed robbery in progress at blah blah blah. You need to send 2 people or whatever. Okay. So you pick the 2 cops that you want to send out, and you send them out, and then dependent on their rating, like because they all have individual ratings, like Sims or whatever. It will depend on their success rate, but also kind of dictate as to what happens next. So you will sometimes get a follow-up thing that's just like, it'll either let you know what happened during that mission, or it will ask you for further guidance. So they'll be like, okay, we chased the perpetrator into here. Do you want to, A, break in quietly through the window, B, fire the sirens up and say you're surrounded, like, and then your decisions have consequences. Yeah. So like your cops can die. They can die in the line of duty, and also the suspects can die. But if the ideal, obviously, ending to one of these stories is that you just arrest the guy and you get money for doing that. And then so you're kind of playing this balancing game. But then the cops start to be dicks. So like I've just kind of got to the part where they're starting to like ask for days off. So this guy pops up and says, I was reading a really good book and I didn't get to finish it last night, and I really want the day off so I can finish reading my book.
So it wasn't like my wife is sick or my
No,
kid's
that's
sick.
the thing. Like, this dude's excuse was fucking miserable. So I was like, look, you're the worst cop I have on the force. Like, you have like 5 points and you're supposed to be like over 150 to be a good cop. You're a piece of shit. Fuck you, no. So I was just like, you're not getting the day off to read a book, you useless fucker. But that's where it starts to get interesting, because you still have this kind of backlog story of like you as the chief of police and the mayor and all this other stuff that's going on. But then you have these individual relationships that you're going to be building up, because the overarching thing I'm getting to here is that throughout this 180 days, you kind of are going to be walking the line of good versus evil. Your goal is to save up $500,000 for retirement, because you don't have anything for retirement. So you can absolutely do that by being just a really, really good cop, or
be a dick.
You can work with the mafia.
Yeah.
You can, you can walk along the line of evil. But then, of course, you want your cops to have your back. So if something comes up, or people are like, "Hey, you working with this guy?" You want your guys to be like, "Oh no, he's not doing that." So you have to kind of be nice to them occasionally occasionally for that stuff to happen. You also get to hire people, fire people. There's a whole lot of stuff.
It's life simulator is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's almost like Sims Chief of Police version, you know. But it's surprisingly fun and it's kind of addictive. So I would say if you can find it on sale, definitely pick it up. Even full price, it's like $20. So if you're into the idea of an RTS where you're essentially the chief of police, you're walking fine lines, you're doing a lot of strategy management and stuff like that, and it is a fantastic story.
Do you have some sort of stats that you have that like show your relationships with the cops and all that? Or is it just kind of
they individually have stats. I don't remember if there's any kind of a relationship thing. I honestly, I've been kind of a dick to everyone so far, so I don't think of anything's come up.
My question would be like, do you eventually get like better charisma? So then, if you give an answer, people will be like,
I do think there's connections. There's definitely connections that get built there over time, and those cops are more likely to like stick up for you in instances where you need them to and stuff. But again, that all boils down to did you give that guy the day off when he asked for it and that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting.
You give everybody the day off.
Well, no, fuck that. Because the problem is you won't have enough cops to actually solve the crimes that day. And that's where you. So if you can't send someone to solve a crime, then you know. So it's a really fine line that you walk there, which is I suppose similar to being a real policeman. But interesting title, beautiful stylistically, a lot going on for it. $20.
$20.
Yeah. And I picked it up on the cheap for like 12 or something, and I think it's worth it. I will definitely go back to that game and play it. And I don't say that a lot with indies because a lot of times I play games for this show just to kind of taste them.
That's for my spotlight last night. I literally loaded up 4 or 5 games. I was like, this one, no, this one, no, this. I captured footage for 4 or 5 different games, and I was like, none of these really fit what I want to talk about because they didn't hit the right spot of like, this is a game you have to show off.
Right.
So yeah, I'm the same way where I'm like, we'll play for a show, and then like, this is cool, but will I really go back to it? Probably not. I'm gonna go back to Elder Scrolls or Friday the 13th.
Yeah, that's kind of I had a lot to choose from because I had like Perception, which is that blind lady horror game. I had a couple like this.
I have nothing going on right now.
Right. So I got too much. I got too much going on. So I really had to narrow it down to something that I thought was my thought for this spotlight was what game would players have seen thought, ooh, that looks interesting, but not dug into.
Well, that also came out with, like you said, I think you said it with Horizon and all that. Like that came out in the sludge.
Oh yeah, it was just completely buried by all those bigger games. So you can see some of the gameplay going on right here. But yeah, it's I had a lot of fun with it. I made some terrible decisions right off the bat. But I think if you're into narrative tales, if you're into strategy management, and you like the idea of a kind of a dirty cop, good cop dynamic, then you could do much worse. It's really
it's a high compliment. You could do much worse.
Well, no, I genuinely I had fun with it, but I think for $20 it's worth picking up. Yeah. So there you go. This is The Police, my spotlight for today. Let's move into our question of the week. And those of you who are listening and or watching, if you click the link down in the description, you have a question for us. You can join our Discord server, and that's where you can give us a question if there's anything you want us to cover in the world of Sony. Yeah, we talk to you guys sometimes. We do when we feel like it. My goal, I think I told you this. My goal is being there for half an hour to an hour a day. That's not because I don't want to be in there. It's because I'm busy doing other stuff. I go in there to post a meme and then I leave. I noticed. You drop stuff and gone. Yeah. But the question I came up with this, which I think is a hot topic right now, is should Sony allow crossplay? And before we answer, I'm going to read an interview with Jim Ryan with Eurogamer. So the question that Eurogamer posed: Minecraft works cross-platform between Switch, Xbox One, and PC. Today, Rocket League was announced as cross-platform between Switch, Xbox One, and PC. Both don't work cross-platform with PlayStation. Now, is this Sony not playing ball? What is actually going on here? Ryan's response: It's certainly not a profound philosophical stance we have against this. We've done it in the past. We're always open to conversations with any developer or publisher who wants to talk about it. Unfortunately, it's a commercial decision between ourselves and the other stakeholders, and I'm not going to go into detail of this particular instance. And I can see your eyes rolling. Goes on. Well, you must see that PlayStation owners are upset. They want to play with Switch owners, PC owners, and Xbox One owners for those two big and important games, and they don't have an explanation for why. That's what I'm getting at, really. Ryan's response: Yeah, we've got to be mindful of our responsibility to our install base. Minecraft, the demographic playing that, you know as well as I do, it's all ages, but it's very young. We have a contract with people who go online with us that we look after them and that they are within the PlayStation curated universe. Exposing what in many cases are children to external influences we have no ability to manage or look after is something we have to think about very carefully. Oh. I have 2 thoughts on this. One, it's interesting.
for that last part, clearly he's never been on PSN because I get a lot of shit messages anyway.
But they can control PSN.
But they don't.
Well, true. But they can.
But they don't.
Right.
So that I feel like it's a BS answer.
Right.
But I do understand that since they can't control Xbox Live, that I understand.
It is
that
a little
standpoint.
corporate speak, isn't it?
Yes. The big issue I have here with it, I guess, is the fact that everybody else is on board and they're not. So it looks really like if Microsoft and PC crossplay, fine.
For me, it's like
The fact that Nintendo doesn't.
Yeah,
that's the fact that
if
Nintendo doesn't.
Nintendo are doing it and you're not, then you got.
And then the answer they give, like if they came out and said, "Look, we're not doing this because we don't want to," I would be better with that.
I'd respect it.
I'd respect that more than them saying, "We don't want to get the children hurt because we can't control it."
Won't you think of the kids?
But at the same time, you don't control fucking PSN. Like that's what drives me crazy. Is the answer he gave right here? I think is a bullshit answer.
Okay.
But I understand where he's coming from with because it did come out later that you do have to sign into Xbox Live for Minecraft on Switch, on PlayStation, and obviously on Xbox or on PC and obviously Xbox, which again can't control that environment. And also, I think Sony doesn't want to have the Xbox brand on PlayStation.
So do you think
PC
they're
doesn't
just
care.
sitting back and waiting for something to go horribly wrong for one of the other companies? Then do you think they're going to end up with like
I don't think anything will.
some kid? Well, I don't think so either. But do you think they're going to wait and see if some kid from Nintendo Switch say gets online with the Xbox fuck your mom gamers?
They don't have voices. They don't have voice chat.
Oh.
It's cross. You can't voice chat across platforms, so I don't get what the issue is here.
That is true.
So I don't get what the issue is here. Other than the only thing I can think potentially is in-game chat might show up, like you can on the top left, you can type stuff in and all that kind of stuff. I had somebody yesterday when I was recording the Rocket League footage for the spotlight. It just kept saying I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, you're gay, I'm gay, and I was like, dude, calm down there. But even then,
it's Pride weekend, to be fair.
Yeah, but it was just like one of those things where it's like, come on. So this, I don't know. I understand Sony not wanting to do it because if they had said we don't want Xbox on our platform, I would have respected that way more than if them saying protect the children because you're not fucking protecting the children. Thoughts?
For once, I kind of agree. Yeah, I think that is somewhat of a corporate speak answer. I guess. I don't know, man.
I wanted you to fanboy this and have an opposite view.
I know you wanted. I know you wanted an argument, and I'm sorry I can't give it to you because I think it is kind of stupid that they don't do it. And I think that of all the answers that they possibly had for that is a bullshit answer. Like you said, I would much have preferred them to just say, you know what, we just don't fucking want to. Like that would have been better.
Even if they did fucking arrogance and said we don't have to because we're the leader.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you know. Well, that wouldn't have happened.
Piss people off.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's better than saying protect the kids.
Yeah, I just think it's more honest to be like that. I think there's more going on. I honestly think it's something else. I don't think it's a case of them protecting the kids. Definitely don't think it's that. I don't think it's a case of them wanting to stand alone or stand away from all the other consoles. I think there's something else that they're not telling us or that we're not seeing that is a good reason for them to not do it. I just don't know what it is. I can't picture what it is.
I don't think so. I think it's just Sony not wanting to do it. Because if you think about it, put the shoe on the other
What's
foot.
the downside, though? What's the downside if they do it?
There isn't any. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's just
so there has to be a reason.
So
right?
The reason is they're number one. They don't have to. That's the reason. So Microsoft last generation was number one for console sales for the longest time until Sony caught up at the end. They didn't have to do shit because they were number one.
Right.
Look what's happening now that Microsoft's losing the race. They're like, oh, let's give you backwards compatibility. Let's give you cross-platform play. So you say it as pandering, but it also is giving people what they want to get them back on that platform.
So you think Sony are just in a position where they're like, well, fuck you, we don't have to, so we're not going to?
Yes. I think that's part of the mentality here.
How much work is it for Sony, though?
I don't know.
Is it any work? Is it just it's on the developers, surely, right?
Well, there is some work to obviously connect to networks. So like PC is easy because it's open.
Right.
I thought for the longest time it wouldn't happen because it's closed to closed because Xbox Live is closed, PSN's closed, and whatever the hell Nintendo calls their online service is closed. But the fact that Xbox and Switch can go together, two closed services, makes me think either Sony has something technologically wrong somewhere on their back end, or it's them not wanting to do it.
The other thing is that he used Minecraft as the example of a game that's very sort of kid-heavy. Rocket League is not that kid-heavy. Like, there's a lot more. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of kids playing it. It's a fun, kiddie game. But at the same time, there's a vast majority of a more adult audience there. I mean, like you said, it's an esport. So, I mean, there's a lot more older gamers. Let's say it comes up to something that's not Minecraft or Rocket League. Let's say it's something that's legitimately an adult game. Something that has a rating that's higher than anything a kid should be able to play. what's your excuse then? You know what I mean? Like, let that happen, and then let them say no, and then let them give us the real answer why they're not doing it.
Because they did, what was it, Final Fantasy? Which Final Fantasy was it that they allowed? They allowed cross-play on
14
something.
14 maybe?
And that's PS3, right?
No, 4. They did 11 as well, I think.
It might have been 11 I'm thinking of. Something on PS3 was cross-platform.
Probably 11.
And I don't know if I wonder if they had any issues there with anything going on. Or if, again, because they were behind at the time, that they did it to make fan service. So,
it's an interesting thought. I don't know. It's, I'm half kind of...
Because
I'm half mad about it, and I half don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Because I don't care about crossplay. I really don't.
I do.
I just...
Because I have friends... So, a prime example right now is... Take Rocket League.
Okay.
I have friends that are on PC that own Rocket League.
Yeah.
I'm on PS4. I own Rocket League.
You can't talk to them.
We do Discord. We find other ways to chat to each other through a separate app. That's fine. That's not an issue. That doesn't bug me at all. That bugs some people, doesn't bug me, because I'd rather play with my friends than worry about...
I feel like voice chat is the only way to go, and I think Discord would be annoying, but that's fine. That's fine.
So we play through that. I have friends on Xbox. Guess what? I can play with Xbox people, and I can play with PC people, but I can't play with
both of
them at the same time. So I don't know what's happened. Actually, I may not be able to play with Xbox people. I can't remember if Rocket League's Xbox. But that to me is like, it's weird because they allowed that, but then now they're like, hey, you can't do all three. And I don't know what's changed. Why can I play with PC but not...
I have to feel like it's a logistical hardware nightmare trying to put all that together anyway. I mean, networking is not a simple subject to master.
No.
So the fact that you have all these big industrial networks that you're trying to crosstalk
and Microsoft obviously have something in place.
Nintendo, I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Makes me think Sony is behind.
I think Nintendo just said yes with no idea of how they're going to make it happen, honestly, because I can't see Nintendo being able to pull that off at all. But I hate Nintendo's internet stuff, and trust me, I'm such a fan of the Switch so far, but I am so mad about it.
How cool to be playing Rocket League on the Switch, on the go, at Indie PopCon, maybe July 7th through 9th, in a hotel, which the game's not out by then, but if it was, 2018, we'll say 2018.
Sure.
And you get to play with people on the go, back home on PS4.
That'd be cool.
Or you can play with people on the go who have Xbox.
Yeah. The Switch does bring an interesting dynamic to that as far as crossplay goes, because, you know, you can take it anywhere, but then again, the Switch, you still have to find, like, Wi-Fi and everything to connect to, so. But,
but you gotta find Wi-Fi for any of them.
Well,
beyond about that shit.
I'm mostly just single-playering the Switch stuff.
Dork.
I'm not a dork. I'm just I'm a loner, Dottie. I'm a rebel.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I really think this is Sony just... Again, I'm cool with Sony making whatever fucking decision they want because it is their business. But the answer that he gave, I think is complete BS. And I think two things happened. One, he didn't talk to PR before he gave that answer.
Yeah, probably not.
And two, protecting the children is just... I think what he was hoping was get sympathy points by saying that, but it didn't work. It backfired on him. So good.
I love that this is the first episode of TCSX, and we're already like, Sony, what the fuck are you doing, man?
But that's how you got to do it, though. You can't always be happy with.
I think you guys have a rough idea of where we stand right now, as per usual with everything that we do. And I'm kind of wrapping it up early here because I don't know if you're done with the crossplay stuff. As per usual, we have our opinions, right? I've been playing Sony since the dawn of Sony. Keegan's been playing Xbox since the dawn of Xbox. We decided to do this podcast because Sony is our primary platform. They have this generation. They have a ton of indies, and we love to spotlight indies. But there's so many indies, we couldn't just be like, okay, we're going to do all the indies everywhere. And if we were to do just like an indie-only podcast, I think it would have
run out pretty quickly.
It would have burned us pretty fast. But Sony, being a bigger company, allows us to have those bigger discussions on the bigger news pieces, things like cross-platform play and that kind of stuff. But also allows us to dig into things like Crash and stuff that's kind of bigger in the industry, which we don't usually get to talk about because mostly we're focused on the smaller things. So this is our chance to stretch our wings a bit wider and also fill a potential gap in the podcast market for those of you that love PlayStation. So thank you so much for slogging through that first episode with us. It will continue to get better and better as we start to get into a groove. And then tomorrow we have the Codename Morpheus first episode, and that is going to be all PSVR. So PlayStation fans, stick around. If you don't have a VR headset, it's going to give you a good reason to see why you need one. And if you do, just fucking watch it. And then Friday
is our podcast where we're gonna we're
Friday's gonna be a shit show.
I've got a topic I've got a topic that I've not told Tom what it is, and I'm excited to see his reaction to it.
He told me it's going to terrify me in some size, shape, or form, so I'm excited. I don't think it will.
I think we're building it up too big. But no, seriously, I actually made an outline for this. Like, it was legit. I hope you guys like this. If there's anything in here you guys think we should tweak, maybe you don't want to. I liked reading the whole drop though, because we found games like, oh yeah, that comes out.
Yeah.
If there's anything you guys want us to tweak or any criticism you have, let us know. Please don't criticize my reading too bad. I'm not very good at reading. But
he tries so hard.
I try so hard.
He does try so
hard.
I'm
also wired up on Red Bull. If you saw, I've been drinking Red Bull, so I'm wired up. But if there's anything you want us to change, any topics, like I said, go to our Discord, hit us on Twitter, Level2GamersSTL. Just let us know. If there's a game you want us to spotlight that maybe we didn't see, and you're like, hey, you guys should check this out to let people know. Yeah. Let us know about that.
Let us know what you think of our set, too. Yeah. We're going to continually add to it because it's a virtual set. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
That's green screen behind us.
Shout out to Wheezy, a.k.a. Eric the Animator. He's our guy that did our intro, and he's also doing all of our sets for our podcast.
And he'll be at Indie PopCon with us.
He will be at Indie PopCon, and we're going to bring him up to the panel, too, so you get to meet him.
Yeah.
But we have now officially, so since this is the first thing that we're going to see from the new content, we have officially condensed Level 2 Gamers down to 3 pod/vidcasts that are going to be available every single week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
On YouTube and on audio services.
Yes. However you listen, you can find
Search
us.
Level 2 Podcast on Google Play, on iTunes, on
Stitcher.
Whatever. There's somebody in the Kind of Funny group had a really cool podcast app. I need to ask him what it was, but it was like mosaic blocks, and I was like, that is so cool. Sweet. It's such cool. He just taps on it, and it flips around, and there's all your episodes.
Nice.
I was like, that was really cool.
So we're kind of podcasters now, right?
I think so.
But don't worry, there's a lot more stuff coming.
Yes. But thank you guys for watching. We are the Level 2 Gamers. This is TCSX, your PlayStation podcast, your weekly PlayStation podcast, as Tom would say. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will be back next week with more news, more spotlights, more controversy probably. And as always, welcome to the second level. Bye.
It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level.